What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the show. It is the very last Monday night of the season. It is the season finale of Season 2 of Preacher here on AfterBuzz TV. We're breaking the whole thing down for you guys. I'm here with Dave Childrens. We'll see you guys in just 1 second.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Whoa! Yeah! It's like surround sound.
I liked it. It vibrated my inner being.
Ooh, preacher.
All right, cut it. We got limited time. Kill it.
It's the last episode. It was a long episode.
It was.
We got a lot to talk about.
So we're going to speed through this right now, guys. What's going on? It's the AfterBuzz TV After Show Preacher, Season 2, Episode 13. The title? I don't have it written in front of me.
It's End of the Road.
Yes. End of the road. Well,
Yeah.
that makes sense. We're here to break the whole thing down for you guys. A lot happened. Let's start straight out with our panel, Mr. Matt Marr.
I'm sad. Hello, everybody. You can find me at Matt Marr. The Matt Marr, 2 T's, 2 R's.
We also have the Nate Miller.
What's up, guys? Nate Miller here. You can find me on social media at Dog Like Nate. That's dog with 2 G's. Also very excited and sad at the same time.
Your name's not Children.
No, it's not. It's Child. One child, and that's me. It's Dave Child. Find me at MR Dave Child or DaveChild.com. I'm Dave Child. I'm also sad. It's the last episode. Oh, boy.
What's up, guys? I'm Ben Bateman. You guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media, Twitter, Instagram, what have you. And TV Fights this last week on Screen Junkies. Check that out. It was a good episode. So, all right, guys, let's talk about the whole thing. Let's break the whole thing down for you guys. We got some resolution. And for any of you guys wondering, if you're comic book readers, we'll do a little spoiler section at the end, but we are going to just stick to what happened in the episode, not any of the comic book connotations, because, it's about the show, not the comics. So, by the way, just a quick thought. I know I don't want to tangent too hard. Every time I introduce people, I always have this fear in my head of just I'm going to just say the wrong name.
Oh,
Right.
all
no
the
matter
time.
how many
that's-
times you've done it.
That's life. That's life for me.
I'd be
I've totally forgotten the name of somebody I knew for like 3
Yeah.
years right before, and I'm like, yep, totally done it.
I'd be like, and Nate Wilson. And you're like, it's not my name. Why would you do that to me? Anyway, all right, just admitting that happened to me.
It's just, you're just human, Ben Bateman.
Yeah, okay.
It just means you care.
It just means you're a regular person.
So
Speaking of names, Jesse Custer.
Yeah.
Oh, man, we start way back. I'm really good at segues. It's a
good segue.
We start way back with like a teenage Jesse Custer.
yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Dressed up as Colonel Sanders.
And we got all the stuff that you guys expected from last week, which is that we weren't going to get any specific casting on the Langels. It was going to be vague because they wanted to be able to properly cast the roles for Season 3.
I also think we can't just make it so it's like, they just want to cast it for Season 3. I think it was a good move. I like having them be this menacing,
ominous.
faceless.
I liked it too.
Characters.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm biased in the comic, but when you see the characters, they are the characters, and like the way that they look, that's why I'm really curious about their casting, because they have distinctive looks, and I'm sure they're gonna go, for a similar style.
Definitely.
Because they already have, like, with Featherstone and with Hair Star, and, like,
Right.
they look great. So I think it's a nice side effect from them hiding it, that you get this ominous feel, but I
think it's a little bit of like, hey, this is a good ominous thing that we'll do.
I mean, either way,
would
it
do
turned out
anyways.
great.
So we won't talk too much about those guys because we haven't seen them yet, and that'll be a big part of next season. But we will talk about the throwback. So Jesse as a kid, and we don't get any of his surroundings. We're still just pretty much on the property there
the
at
gates,
Angelville. We do get a sense of the grandma character. I think he refers to her as grandma or like.
I don't know. I think
Miss-
he just kind of says
No, in the previous episode, when he sees her on the
Right.
dock, doesn't he
Well,
call
that's
her Mrs.
grandma.
Langell, or does he call her grandma?
Yeah, I think we pretty much know it's grandma from the previous episode, but I think we can infer that it's the same one who has the tarot cards in front of her.
Yeah.
But he doesn't call her grandma in this episode,
Right.
At the very least.
So we see her. We hear about a character, Jody, and we also hear the name TC.
Yeah.
Jody and TC. So those 3 pieces of information on in Angelville that we are introduced to. And Jesse is kind of a scoundrel kid. He's stealing money, who hates this guy Jody.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we
And
got.
I also love how Angelville is, because we've gotten a sense of Angelville is the only place where they still are in the soul business. So they've built up Angelville as this dark, insidious place, and then we kind of see a little bit of Angelville, and it's like, and the Gator tours are on the right, and the
Right.
It also has this very touristy vibe to it, where it also has something dark going under, where Jesse is there to find the cops and to make sure the cops don't get there. I also just like the little detail that he's dressed as Colonel Sanders and he kills a chicken by the end of the scene.
So we get some
Like Branson.
and we get some foreshadowing here, because we see the dead chicken who belongs to his dad, who is in the backpack when he goes and takes it to this character we assume is grandma.
Yeah.
And he looks at her and he says, "I don't know if you can do this," and she says, "There's always a price." And I think we're assuming, at the time we don't know 100% what he's asking for, but we assume it's something to do with soul, or whether it's a dead thing, maybe he's reincarnation.
Right.
And of course, at the end of the episode, with dead Tulip in the backseat, it's supposed to suggest, I think, the connection between those two things, right? That's
Yeah,
When
you
we
saw the
see
chicken
running across.
yes.
Yeah,
Why
you
does the
saw-
chicken cross the road?
But that's funny, because I didn't actually think he was going to bring the chicken back in the first scene. I didn't read it as he wants the chicken to come back to life. I didn't read it as a resurrection. But I do now by the end of the episode, because I think that's why he's bringing Tulip over.
No, I didn't. I thought he was like saying that was his sacrifice for whatever
was
he
the
wanted.
price,
Yes,
yeah.
I didn't get it till the end.
Yeah,
Same thing.
The way I read it as he because he gets angry and he kills the chicken, and then afterwards he's like, "Oh crap, what did I do? This is not my chicken to kill."
Right.
And so then he was like, "Here, I'm sorry. Can we fix this?" And she
Right.
was like, "Well, there's going to be a cost to fix what you've done." That's how I saw it.
Right.
Not
Sure.
not that the chicken is what he's paying.
Which I think is how it was, but I love that you could kind of just infer
I think you
whatever.
can kind of I
think it's both.
It could be both. Like,
Yeah.
I think you're right, especially by the end of it. I think that's what we get, and why that we see the chicken cross the road. By the way, that's an old chicken. No chicken lives that long.
It's a very old
Which
chicken.
Does it mean that chicken's now immortal, that it's brought back from the dead?
How old do we
I
think?
mean, it could not be the same chicken.
How old do we think
Yeah.
Jesse is versus how old he was supposed to be before? I think we assume Jesse's like 36, 34, kind of in that range. Is that right?
Yeah. Or
gonna
like,
I would say
say-
younger. I would say like 32, 33.
I don't know.
Sure.
It's hard
Yeah.
to tell on TV.
Early to mid
You know,
30s, maybe.
He's just hot. I don't know his age.
Yeah.
And then
I would say like
gotta-
15, 16, probably
Yeah.
in the flashback.
in the
Yeah,
flashback. Yeah,
Yeah,
That
yeah,
feels
yeah.
about right. That feels about right. So
I
yeah.
love that the suit that he's in, like, it's obvious that, like, it was
Doesn't
either
fit.
for him when he was younger or for someone else that's smaller.
Yeah, he
it's
should've
like
just
so
been
there for a
while.
small.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fit.
It's like the capri suit. Yeah.
And him
Yeah.
sniffing out the cop, too. That was great.
That was
Yeah.
great.
That was really cool.
So yeah, we start with the flashback, and then as we come back into modern day, we have two things going on. We have Jesse, and he's sort of running the business, the Messiah business that Hair Star is trying to promote. And Jesse reluctantly has been convinced he should wear this 18th century fencing cloak.
Yeah.
the matter of fact nature of the way Star talks is just never going to get
Yeah.
old. It's just always funny to me.
I just love how he's wearing the cloak for talking in front of children.
Yeah.
And I think that also in the cloak just made him look like Doctor Strange. So
Yeah,
it had
agreed.
a nice little
Agreed.
he looks like a comic book character but from the wrong comic book.
I mean, we'll see going forward. I'm assuming that this is this episode was kind of the end of any not totally adversarial scenes with Jesse and Hair Star, because I almost want them to have like a buddy cop movie or something. I just love the two of them together.
It's funny, yeah.
I mean, props to the writers for this episode too, just because I thought throughout I kept it's just there were so many great lines through the episode too, which
Right.
we'll get into.
Yeah, it was funny, definitely. I love the way this episode ran. I love the way that it starts, and Jesse's going to this school to talk to these kids, and the fight. How good was that fight?
That fight was good.
It was amazing.
And I like I'm going to show him the miracle because I'm going to ask for the fart machine back.
Yeah.
And then it just dives into the Armenians are here. The
Yeah.
Armenians. Just randomly going into looking for nuns and children. And it was a great fight.
We're just here for the nuns and children. And it just, the fight. So there's been a few fights this season. Not as many as I think. Like the comic book's full of fighting. And I thought that the one with Tulip's ex-husband was fine. Like I thought that was a good fight. Or the guy before. I guess it's the guy. It's that
Yeah,
butcher
yeah.
character. But it wasn't my favorite fight.
Right.
Agreed.
I liked the fight in the pilot a lot with Donnie. That was a really good fight.
The
Yeah.
fight with the guys in the van when he first meets the Grail. Like
Yeah.
the four guys, that was good too.
That was funny.
Yeah.
But this one takes the cake.
This is my favorite.
This was the best fight.
This
Yeah.
was, and I do like how one thing that's definitely always Jesse Custer is he's a guy that doesn't necessarily need the voice. The voice is on top of being an incredible fighter and a badass just himself. So it's nice to see that and have that happen.
It's a big part
Especially
of the
this
character.
season, because I think he's been a little like lost in finding himself.
Yeah.
So I agree with that too. I did have this feeling of like he's back a bit for me.
Yeah, I think that's one of Jesse's defining characteristics, his ability to fight and get himself out of sticky situations. And the funniest part about that is that when the voice doesn't work, he just kicks these dudes' ass in front of a
Yeah.
bunch of nuns and children. It
still works.
And that's the Messiah move. He just like beats the crap out of these guys.
And when they're done, Hairstar's got the camera, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Did you get it?" He's like, "Yes."
Already trending.
We already trending.
Yeah.
I want to
They're
see
gaining
what
new
false
followers,
account.
but it's like I bet you they made an Instagram account.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, please.
I don't want
If
to.
somebody
I bet
knows
it's
that in
like,
the chat, let us
the
know.
Messiah.
yeah, it's like Tiffany, like a fake name. It's not a Hairstar. It's not the Grail. It's like Tiffany's.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
I also love that that like Star doesn't even try to pretend like it wasn't a setup as soon as Jesse calls him out. He's just like, this is just what we need to be doing. I'm sorry. We need to get you on Kimmel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have time for what do you say for organic, or we don't have time. It was some
Yeah, and so they get him on the airplane, and
Yeah.
at the same time this is all happening and Star is trying to orchestrate this plan, we've got Tulip and Cassidy kind of packing up back at the house.
Right.
And we see some resolution finally to this Dennis situation, which like it was interesting because it was pretty clear from like moment one what was going to happen, I think, to most of us.
Yeah, but it wasn't the way I thought it was going to go down.
No?
I really thought one thing I liked from this was we get a sense of him lusting after Tulip is also tapping into his vampire, wanting to like suck her blood.
Right.
And also the fact that he has to kill Dennis isn't because Dennis is going too far or is a monster. I like that Dennis is turning him into a monster.
Right.
I loved that. I did not expect that. I loved
that came
it.
out of nowhere.
He's just reminding him of what he is and like what he's trying to avoid,
Right.
Because
Yeah.
we've seen like Cassidy's been alive for a long time, and he's kind of figured out his own way of living that kind of lets him feel okay with himself and not feel like a monster.
Right.
And Dennis and all his new urges is just reminding him of all the things that he's left behind and that he's trying not to feel. And so, especially once he has that flashback or that fantasy,
Yeah.
or whatever, and
Yeah.
it goes sour, he really starts to think like, you're just gonna drag me down the wrong path.
Yeah, well, I think it's like, I thought that was a really good scene. I also thought it was a really interesting use to make Dennis speak in English.
Yes. The one time we hear him in English. Right?
Yeah, which was just like very
Again,
nefarious.
the writing was so great.
Yeah, and like, I thought, yeah, it was just an interesting use. It took what seemed to be like sort of a base level storyline, and it really elevated its importance to Cassidy as a character.
Right.
Yeah.
Just the entire way that it broke down is like, and I also like that. Did you guys think it was kind of ambiguous whose panties those were when he first found them?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, I kind of felt like maybe they were tulips, but I also got the feeling maybe it was one of the women that came by.
That's what I thought. I
Yeah.
thought it was like one of Dennis's.
I thought at first one of the
victims.
women, yeah.
That's right. We all thought it was one of Dennis's victims, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got it last.
And
You
so,
all
are
already
we
got
sure
it.
that it's tulips?
I think it's
I
pretty
think it is
much
tulips, yeah.
Even if it wasn't, it's like it's tulips in a lot of ways. Like it's even if it wasn't literally tulips, I think we get
It's
it.
Because it makes
representation.
sense if you think about when he was folding the clothes, he was kind of folding everything, and even when he looked at those, and then he like kind of gingerly put them on the bed
Right.
and folded.
And
I didn't
actually-
think of that until afterwards. I went, oh, now this is clicking.
And I guess the white shirt, and I'm just realizing this now because I'm like, oh, what's the point of that white shirt? But that's Preacher's. That's Jesse's white shirt. So he's kind of being like, oh, and he's no longer with us, so I'm gonna put it in there. And then under the white shirt is Tulip's panties. So
Right.
It helped too. I mean, I'm trying to not. I don't want to say spoilers. So I mean, we can talk about it. But as far as like where, to me, it just helped set up a little bit of, Cassie's progression as progression as a
character,
progression.
yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. I
That's all I
gotta
can
see
say.
that too. And I just also like how we get also a sense of what Cassidy has to do in order to keep the beast at bay. He has to smoke drugs. He talks about this in a previous episode, but we see him like
We always thought he did that because he's just wild and crazy, you know.
and he's
then-
just like wants to feel something. But now we get a sense of that.
And now I feel his torment.
Yeah, he's actually like has
Yeah.
to beat down this
Yeah,
feeling of wanting to
really
feed.
empathized.
And he also has to surround himself with humans. I think they also help to be kind of like to identify with them.
We also
Someone
got
has
to
their
see
hand raised.
him drop Fang this episode.
Yeah, real drop Fang.
That was kind of sexy.
I feel like it was always ambiguous, like whether he had teeth.
I was waiting.
I
I've been
agree.
watching a lot of True Blood, so I was waiting for the click.
Oh,
but
I'm
there
sorry.
was no, there was
Yeah.
no
quiet.
sound trigger, but it still looked cool though. Like he
No,
went-
when he did it, I was like,
I mean,
"Ugh."
obviously because we haven't really seen him go full vampire, this is the most we've seen of it. But like this, like between the thing with him and the fantasy and the laptop thing and that fight scene between the two of them, which I thought was really good and very
Yeah.
well motivated.
Yeah.
Again,
Man, he
well,
like
yeah.
it's just it's very there. He's been a great character on the show consistently, but now not only is he great comic relief and he's got the tormented character in him, but he's also the powerful old vampire is really
that's a good
he's
point.
playing it really well.
It was a big Cassidy episode. Really, overall, I think of all the characters, he was the biggest character of the episode. There was a lot of moments that were really important that we had been waiting to see. I mean, because you saw things from him that you hadn't seen. Like you saw, first of all, you saw him go full vamp, which is something we had all kind of wondered, the fangs and things like that. You really saw him in a like a trying moment, kind of like. His passion, I guess, came out full tilt to try to save Tulip. So you see the amount that he loves Tulip. That's 2. It's another thing that we really saw fully expressed. 3, we see him kill Dennis. So you see the first sort of semblance of like him trying to do something that he thinks is a necessary good in the world, making a hard decision. And I think they've tried to suggest to this point that his character's a pretty selfish, pretty self-serving, kind of evil on the inside character who tries to abide by the rules, but ultimately will always, go downhill. And even if it was to serve sort of in self-preservation to get rid of Dennis, it was still something necessary that he sees these videos and he thinks that this is a necessary thing for him to do.
Yeah.
So a lot of big stuff out of Cassidy, and then finally you had that dream, which let's talk about that because I think it was how quickly was it clear that was a dream to all of us?
I mean, as soon as she
she was
said,
like
"We're
on the
gonna have
bed,
sex again."
yeah. Even before that, when she was like sitting on the bed
Sitting
looking at
super
him
close.
like, yeah, like I'm gonna lick you. I was like, this is a dream
See, I was like not
because that's not Tulip.
I know, but like there wasn't some party that was like Jesse's just like left and she's sad about it and she's in like self-destructive mode now.
Yeah,
like
that's the one thing that I was like, we did just see the scene where she robbed a
liquor store.
liquor store for no real
Which was
reason.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy was kind of an ass, but
he was an ass, but I
that's
mean,
not a good reason to.
You know what that
Yeah.
scene reminded me of is the scene in Magnolia where Julianne Moore's at the pharmacy.
Yeah,
You remember that?
that's such a
Right.
great scene.
Such an incredible
Oh, I
scene.
love Julianne
Yeah.
Moore.
And she
Sorry.
she said, and the guy behind the counter's like, "All this for you," and she like flips out at him, and it's the same kind of thing, It's like
It's probably an homage.
maybe
That scene makes me clutch my pearls.
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah.
me. I love Julianne Moore.
It's
I
like a
get
great-
real gay with Julianne Moore. I love her so much.
It's her best performance, I think.
It is.
Yeah. So she goes into the store and she robs the store, and then the guy, she tries to give the money to the mom
yeah, and the mom wouldn't even take it.
because I'm the bad guy here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it did make me think of like for a second I was like, oh, okay, maybe she is gonna sleep with him just because she's in self-destructive mode, but it just happens a bit. It goes too well.
Yeah.
Well,
So
so
that made it like,
well, I have a question then, because when you say that, because I don't think I don't think Tulip really has any feelings for Cassidy.
No, I don't think so
at
either.
all. So like, that's what I was gonna and I know that being self-destructive doesn't mean
Yeah.
that she had that feelings for him, but I mean. So I think it's just gonna. I mean, again, it gives me more empathy for Cassidy because I think it's just going to. It's not going to play out well.
but
you
we
know?
also see that like tied in with that lust is a hunger
Right.
that he can't control. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not even just for like, listen, I can't cheat on my bro. It escalates it a bit. Be like, I can't kill my friend. I
Mm-hmm.
can't. So that's a part of it too.
Most vampire lore, the eroticism is linked very closely
Right.
to the
Yeah.
feeding, so
Yeah.
the line gets blurry.
In most lore, just in general.
Yeah.
Unless it's,
Eroticism
like,
and
maybe the
feeding.
strain.
Eroticism is always linked to the feeding.
So
I don't know what to say to that.
It's a new T-shirt.
Can somebody clip that, please?
I think for me the thing that like really reminded me that it wasn't really happening was because in that first episode that we see, I guess it's episode 2 or 3 of season 1, where we see Cassidy and Tulip get it on in a car, the look on her face they specifically show you is like the Khaleesi Khal Drogo face.
Yeah.
It's like that total just like disgusted with the situation face, total disinterest, just like this sucks. And they were
there.
not giving, and that was that was a season ago.
Yeah.
Almost 2 seasons ago. So we were not really getting any of that. She was like way too cheerful. As soon as she was smiling and sitting and looking at him, there was no way it was real.
No.
And then when you see reality of her just like, okay.
Yeah, dude, smoke crack.
I'm gonna go back. Yeah. And after seeing that too, it's like, then I feel silly for ever thinking that it was real. Like, of course she's not gonna, like, oh, you're smoking crack.
Still, I mean, that's props to good writing. Yeah.
No, you're right. Of course, I mean, yeah, that's.
Because I did think, I wasn't immediately like, oh, it's totally fake, but there was like, I had a second. But it was a small, but it's, again, too, like, I mean, just to say, like, for all three of them, man, you don't forget, but you're just involved in the story and the plot. But I thought this was such a great episode of remembering how just freaking great all three of these actors are in these roles. And like, again, if we're talking about the fight between Jesse and Kat, and like the rage that he had for her, but it wasn't towards Jesse, but yet it was this like love, passion fueled rage.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, also, I mean, remember he just killed his son, who he turned to save his life.
Yeah.
He just watched him turn into a monster and then decided he had to kill him, and now he's like so emotionally distressed that he's about to do the same thing again.
Yeah.
Before we get to that too, I also love the little quiet moment when he lets the dog go.
Yeah.
And the dog runs down the street, and you see, because the dog has been for the last couple of episodes something he gave to his son, and then he realized his son's too dangerous to own a dog. His son is going to kill this dog. So he has to take the dog away. And then after his son dies, then he has the dog, but he realizes he's too dangerous for the dog. So he has to let the dog go and run away. And you just see this like hunger in his eyes as that dog is just like walking away, and also this kind of sadness because he realizes right now he's getting too dangerous.
I think that's the moment to me I felt like Cassidy just gave up on himself.
Yeah, I think it's also, it's him letting go of like the idea of him like in his head, turning his son, having him around, and like now he's got a family or at least people around, and him kind of letting it go and being like, well, no, I was stupid for thinking that this was ever going to turn out well. You know, I can't get a dog for my son. You know, this is not my life.
It'll be really interesting to see, those of us that have read the full story, how the story ends. That's like one thing I'm really curious how they're gonna. You know, it's like I have a lot of questions about that. So
we can talk about that in spoilers, but I think that we're gonna get more of that. Stuff.
Yeah.
So
now, but Tulip, oh boy.
Yep.
She goes through some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get to that, let's finish up with this Dennis stuff because there's a couple things there I want to talk about.
Do it.
One of them is what's on his computer. So
That's the oldest computer in the world, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
The Children of the Blood, right?
I also love how he's just a big Shemp fan, which is so funny that it's because they talked about a previous episode how he got a tattoo of Shemp, from the Three Stooges, who's the guy who replaced Curly in the Three Stooges. Wow. Okay. I'm the only comedy nerd.
No, I know.
But it's
I'm familiar with it.
It's funny that you see Shemp in the little like
In the
screensaver that they
instead
have rather than the other Three Stooges. It just makes it so it's like
She was like a thing?
and really detailed
Was Shemp
too.
popular or was it a big bomb?
no, Shemp is like not Curly.
Yeah, it's not Curly.
He's the second best Curly. He's better than Curly Joe, I tell you that much. Curly Joe sucks. But Curly was the original and was great, but he died, so they had to replace him with their cousin Shemp, and he came in, and he's pretty funny. He's good. He's not
just not the
bad,
same.
but he's not Curly. So it's weird to have like a
To be like a
fascination
huge
with
Three
Shemp.
Stooges fan, but not of the original
not
lineup. Only
Curly?
with
Yeah.
Curly.
He's like the one Three Stooge you need to
one
have on
Shemp.
you.
So he deserved to
Essential.
die.
It's the fourth
then.
Stooge.
No.
Yeah, it's not. If it was Curly Joe, I'd be like, kill him now. Kill him now. But because it's Shemp, it's fine.
I don't know the story of the Three Stooges. Let's stop tangenting on Stooges.
Okay.
So
The
we see
Children of the Blood. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Children of the Blood. We see this on the screen, and we see Cassidy watching what appears to basically be just like a publicly available YouTube video of people getting eaten by vampires.
I mean, that
Or
makes
it's some
sense.
sort of vampire thing.
There's
a
I
little
have
bit of
theories
spoiler
about
stuff.
It, but I want to wait.
Okay.
Maybe it's on Vimeo.
But I
We
think
don't
it's
know.
very important that we
Talk about
that
it.
we saw it. Too.
Yeah.
They definitely made a point to.
It's definitely a part. We can all admit that's a part of the story we're aware of. I just mean
Yes.
it's just funny to me that that's how and like you're just like, oh yeah, like so Dennis just like found this. He's like an old
website.
man who's like not a computer hacker. He like discovered this thing and like has access to it. Is just gonna like leave it open on the computer.
Oh yeah, I think if you Google vampire, you can go deep enough, and you go to like the 5th Google page, it's probably
The internet's a pretty
and
dark
he's
place.
been Dennis has been very kind of like, hey, this is who I am. It's not like he's tried to hide it.
Right. So there's that. One thing I was really happy about, because it kind of for a quick second felt like while Tulip was walking in the kitchen, you watched Dennis walk past her in his underwear. That it felt for a second like they were going to go in that direction. That Dennis was going to try something.
Yeah, they did.
That it was, it's something, whether it was to drink her blood or it was going to, just anything, a lust thing, right? Like. And I was glad that they didn't go anywhere near that. I just didn't really want to have to watch like Cassidy. It just was like we don't really need a rape scene.
But at the same time, I think they were maybe nodding towards that because I think we were all expecting that to be Dennis's end. We all knew that Dennis was gonna die. I think by the end of the season, even. But I think we all thought it was because he was gonna do something that, in the eyes of Cass, went too far.
Right.
But instead of doing that, they just had Cass feeling he's going too far. So it was a nice little surprise in the story.
It's not even him going too far. It's just Cass just knowing that at one point he will go too far.
Yes,
And
exactly.
It's not a matter of if. It's when.
It's when.
Right. So so we get that, and then he has this moment where he pushes Dennis out the window, and Dennis burns up, and we see like straight up vampire disintegrating, sun on vampire skin action.
Yep.
And
In my head canon, he's more sensitive to light because he's a newer vampire. Because we see Cassidy drive around in the daytime.
Yeah, they're pretty liberal with that.
He tries to avoid direct sunlight, and
Direct sunlight is a big thing.
But like,
I don't know.
even sometimes that he's gotten burned by direct sunlight, he doesn't burst into flames. He gets like a little toasty.
No,
his,
he
his
does.
skin
There's
goes
that-
like as soon as his arm goes into the sun, you see it happen.
And
Dennis
there's-
got pushed straight out into like blaring sunlight, like outside on the ground for a second.
Yeah.
I also there's that one of my favorite like visuals from the first season is kind of a montage moment where we're seeing everyone. I think it's in the pilot, and he just kind of holds out his hand and it lights and it just catches on fire, and he just watches the fire on his hand. It's a very like surreal moment, but it's one I always remember. So I know direct sunlight will catch it on fire.
And he is a newer vampire, so I don't disagree
I'm
with
just
you.
thinking logistically as they're driving around in that car.
I agree with you. It's like
Like, does
every
he
once in a while you see
not
sun.
make left turns if the sun is in that direction?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way he can 100% avoid sitting in that car, windows wide open. He's not even wearing like a long sleeve or like a hat like he
like
has
I expect.
before.
Yeah,
I think direct helps, and also just like clothes kind of can
I think-
keep it back.
I
don't
think
know.
he's
I think-
old, and so he
yeah.
can, and maybe that's why he can do the indirect much easier.
I think he's just dodging sun in that car. That's why I
guess.
thought. And also sometimes they're driving the car and he's just in the trunk.
Yeah,
like, that's
So-
true.
It was like dusk. Yeah.
I guess it'd be. I'd love it if they did like what Spike would do in Buffy. I don't know, where the car's blacked out. And
Oh,
if you
right.
haven't
And he's
seen
just
it,
driving that black
It's
car.
such a great visual.
No, I remember that.
Such
yeah.
a great visual.
Yeah.
So but this all happens. Dennis dies. Cassidy has his moment. They leave, and Tulip wants to go say goodbye to Featherstone. And this is after she has found the camera on the ground that we all knew was going to happen, and doesn't put two and two together, which is interesting. She says that the Grail was watching us, but it's interesting to me that she doesn't like immediately just go like, our crazy neighbor who I totally caught in a lie that was pretty suspicious, had a gun, who was next door, literally.
I think she does put it together.
When
But
she
no-
goes over there to say
don't
goodbye,
think
she realizes when she's over there.
I think that's her flaw. One of her flaws, though, is like, I mean, yes, she just robbed that liquor store, but she robbed it for like to help out another woman. Like that's a thing for her. Is like women that are in distress. I don't know. I think that's why she would buy that story.
I think she tried to give the lady money because she felt guilty afterwards.
I think
Really?
she wanted.
I don't think she
I think
wanted
it
the
motivated
thrill.
for her. They showed the woman stealing the diapers. I think that motivated for her. It was just like that push of she's like, I really want to do this, and she was like, screw
Yeah, I
it.
guess I can see that.
I mean, to me, I felt like she didn't really read Jenny as part of the Grail because she just didn't have to she didn't need to put two and two together because it was just this force coming in and bugging the house, and just because the house is bugged, she just knew what face to connect that to, and that was Air Star.
Also, like, did you think
Not
it
the
was at
neighbors.
all strange that the Grails door was just Jenny and like.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
Yes.
I mean, what was weird was they left all their stuff just in the front door.
They're moving out, and they know that they're leaving too.
They feel like their mission was complete.
Yeah,
I know. I feel like
was there.
Featherstone though would have had door shut, locked.
Yeah, she's so careful. That was weird.
I
to
do
me.
think that.
That was weird to me.
Maybe it's just be like Custer's gone, so yeah, it's a bit of a stretch of the imagination, but yeah, I kind of accepted it.
That's a great Hoover line.
Yeah, Hoover was super great in this episode. In all
You're
the
all out of
scenes.
shampoo.
Bitch.
I love that. Moisturizer. It was moisturizer, which was even funnier.
better. Even better.
I also like when early on she's like,
He doesn't even have hair.
Now we can be with Hair Star and take over the world. God, and he's like, yeah, no, I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
I'm gonna take a shower. All right, bye.
He's great. The
guy.
comedy there's fantastic. So, yes, Tulip goes up and she walks in and she sees that there is a soul extraction book. And that there's like the same gum stuff stuck onto a screwdriver.
Well, that's what. So now we know what Hoover was reading. So we're guessing he found that manual just in the truck.
Yeah.
Well, and somebody just said in the chat that they think Featherstone totally wanted to get caught, and I never really, because we see that Featherstone. Would she want to like, because she just loves killing people. I mean, and now that they have Jesse, would she want to just get into that with them?
I don't think so. I don't think it was intentional.
She's like very careful, and she's like killing someone.
She wouldn't want to piss Hair Star off.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
because they're assets, the two of them. But yeah, so Tulip goes up there, and there's like the moment she's got the screwdriver, and Featherstone's got the gun, and we all see it coming, and of course. She goes to throw a screwdriver while Featherstone raises a gun. It's not going to work out for you.
It could work in Preacher. It could work in Preacher.
That's the only part for me of this episode where I was a little disappointed. But I love a good girl fight, and I kind of wanted to. I've been waiting for them to like all season kind of have a throwdown.
I wanted another big fight in this episode.
Me
I know
too.
You had this great episode in the beginning, but the rest of it was a lot of talking and a lot of like real emotional trauma. But this season started off so strong with like so many action sequences, and then it kind of dwindled off. So I thought like, okay, maybe they're just this last episode's just going to be a ton of fight scenes, and it wasn't really, and it was okay, but I wish there was a bit more.
It was a missed moment.
In the chat, Ivan Soto's asking, "Why is Hoover in the Grail?" Why do you guys think? It's an interesting question.
Well, I think he actually is maybe believed in. Maybe he was like a Christian.
He like believed in it,
Maybe he was believed in the actual like Messiah, and was religious enough to join, and then he just was led astray by the whole thing.
I mean, evangelical people. I'm from the South. They can get very focused.
Yeah,
they're a massive, secret, covert organization. Who knows what they recruit from, what they tell them,
what they have on Hoover.
Yeah, once you join, you may or may not believe.
Right.
That doesn't mean you're not going to do your job.
I mean, and we saw that when talking with when Hair Star is like, hey, I still have a little bit of your soul. You know?
Well, more than a little bit.
Yeah.
That was an interesting moment.
Sorry, I don't mean to jump ahead, but I mean,
it's okay. So we have a few things we got to get through still.
Yeah, so maybe because we're about to get to the big cliffhanger of the whole thing, so it's actually.
Well, we didn't talk about Eugene. It's the one part that I wanted to touch on.
Really quick. Hitler.
Do you guys think? Did you guys for a moment think that Tulip was actually going to die?
No.
Okay.
No.
I did.
It's just me then, because I for a moment was about to get my pitchfork and be really upset.
Like they're going to change the show to two
right now
show.
she is technically dead. She's dead.
She's coming back.
We know she's
dead.
coming back.
She's dead. I mean,
well, so we'll save that.
I mean, there may be effects.
Then I feel like there's no balance to the.
Let's save that for comic book spoilers.
I do want to. Yeah, I also want to say that there is like when we do see before we go off of it, when he does say, by the way, and then you'll have your soul back. It's not the 1% he took out and put into the Saint. He doesn't have. It's not that kind. It was
think he
more
got
than
more?
that. I think they somehow like took more of Jesse's soul out of him.
Do you think that's why the voice doesn't work anymore?
I mean, I thought it was just a
Maybe.
visual, but I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe, but it was a lot of soul in there, more than that 1%. 1% was like a pebble.
Did I miss that?
He says he has a violence.
He says it real
get
quick.
your soul back.
He's like, okay, go save your friends, but when you come back in, then you can get your soul back. And he holds up a vial, and there's
And
like
Jesse's like, what?
a good
voice.
good.
You got your soul back.
get
Would you
your
like a
soul back.
sausage?
Oh.
So did they take it out of
I don't know.
I
The
think
Saint,
maybe
they
we're
might
going to
have-
find out
They might
that
have taken the 1% out of the Saint. That's the only thing I can think of.
I don't think so. I think they took more than 1% out of him. I think he has less of a soul.
And
now.
it's-
I
somebody
mean, I
said,
guess they know that we know that they have the technology now because
Yeah, they have that soul attraction.
so
Yeah,
Benjamin
attraction.
Slade says the voice worked since then, since the soul got taken out of him. So yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's probably not a good theory. So all right, so that all happens. He goes to save them,
Right.
and at the same time, we see Eugene and Hitler get out of hell. We can be quick about this because not a whole lot happens here. But
Well, it's like it's the most. It's a strange moment because we also get to see a little bit of hell that doesn't just look like a prison.
Right.
We see hell that kind of looks like how you would imagine.
Right.
Hell kind of looks like kind of
the River of Souls or something.
River of Souls, a
Very,
horn,
very Grecian.
a very
Yeah.
like cloaked figure, and
that-
but I love
That guy's voice.
that guy's voice was so good.
It was so.
That's
It's
all-
like my
I don't-
Uncle Leonard.
I knew they were going to be like, oh, he can't just be like this mythical.
course.
I want more of that. I want more of these like these figures that look like godly and out of myths, and then just talk like regular.
But then
people.
also when the jailer shows up, he throws his voice back down and he's
Yeah.
like, he's ready to be a big scary
his
dude.
authority,
When he
yeah.
has to.
Don't you also love that she shoots him with an arrow? She
Yeah.
shoots him with
Right in the head.
like a crossbow in the head.
that
as
makes it
opposed
seem
to-
like she has to use like an ancient weapon in order
Yeah.
to kill.
Yeah,
him.
it's funny. It's funny.
Yeah.
And so they get out, and he's on a bus with Hitler. My dad would get on a kick in seeing you. Why? Because he's a fan of history. And then Hitler just gets hit by a car and runs off. Like,
I do have to say that was a nice graduate moment. I think that was a
Yeah.
little nod towards a graduate.
Totally,
with
totally.
The two of them sitting at
Yeah.
the back of a bus, being like, "Well, now what do we do?" Although I kind of hate that Hitler got out of hell.
me too.
I like
Yeah.
when as soon as
Makes Eugene's character
It would've been a
way dumber than you thought.
Yeah.
yeah, as
I
soon
think
as
that's
you,
why. I think we're gonna see him just go full Hitler, and Eugene's gonna go, "Oh, I was really dumb for thinking that he could have changed or something."
We already get a sense of that when he knocks over that guy on
crippled
crutches and
guy.
keeps running away, and you just hear Eugene go like, "Oh shit!" So it's like enough to be like, "Oh, I just let the Hitler out of hell," and I do hope that they use that more. But it is like I'm like, but Eugene, come on, man.
Yeah, right. He's Hitler. So
Not
yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
You don't. You're not.
They
you don't
coulda
deserve
ended
to be
it
in
right
hell.
there. He's like, "No, I don't deserve it."
Yeah, it was
And they're
surprising he
"All right,
got
You're
out."
right. Bye.
So
But at the same time, now they have more time to ruin this sympathetic Hitler we've gotten.
Yes.
Which is maybe a good thing.
Right.
Because it's a little uncomfortable how sympathetic Hitler was
Yeah.
this whole season.
But also, like that would be like a very talking about the way the comic book worked and sort of the humor of it. Real life Hitler being in the world because he got out of hell somehow, like
Yeah.
becoming like a guy who like owns a butcher shop or something, is totally something you would like read and preach in the comic book,
Right.
and it would just be bizarre and like dark comedy.
I just hope he shaves. He's got to shave his mustache at least if he wants to. If
Right.
He wants to
Blend
fit
in.
Or he'll get like a job in a movie
And
playing
then-
Hitler. So.
Yeah, and playing Charlie Chaplin on
Yeah.
Hollywood Boulevard. That would be amazing.
So this all happens. They're out. He runs off, and Eugene's just like shit. So the last piece of the story, aside from God taking a piss, is
Yeah.
that we find Tulip has taken a bullet, and Jesse comes back, and they try to resuscitate her. And there was this fight between Jesse and Cassidy, which is a great fight.
It was great.
And a really sad moment, and a kind of a like, just a great moment. I thought Jesse saying "Let her die" then. And I thought Cass saying like "Let me save her," and the only way he's like, use your illegitimate means to save her, and if you don't, I'm gonna use my illegitimate
Yeah.
means to save her, kind of.
And now he's doing something he doesn't want to do.
Right.
Which was a surprise because I thought the Angelville people would come to him, especially since now we were talking about how he was becoming known as going on Kimmel. I thought he was going to become known, so they're going to know where he is and they're
They
going to
would
go
find
after
him.
him.
Totally.
I have an alternate theory about that now.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
for when we get to spoilers.
Yeah. So but they fight, and Tulip dies. She's, from the look of her face and the color of her face in the back of that car, she's dead.
She
Yeah,
did.
she's dead.
Yeah.
She dead, girl.
She did.
That was a
but
brutal scene with her gargling on the ground.
Yeah, totally.
And then
Yeah.
him holding him back, just saying, "Let her die."
Did you find it interesting that Jesse was so calm? Like he was so calm trying to sort the problem out.
well, I think he kind of knows he's.
I think he calmed down when he realized that was the only option, that he wasn't going to be able to save her.
No, I'm saying even when he just first showed up, he's like, "It's okay, super glue." Like it's okay,
Yeah.
Cass. It's like, well, pump her. Like say, get her to the hospital. Not like
Well-
she's gonna die.
Well, if anything, I kind of like how that's maybe a sign of hopefully more of Jesse that we get to see, where he's actually really good under pressure.
Or he's a hero.
It's when he's under pressure and when he can actually focus on what needs to be done, and that's what he was doing. It felt more to me like how a soldier is in the field.
Right.
It's like doing trauma surgery as quickly as they can.
Right.
Yeah. So
That's
it's
crazy.
and since we get a chicken coming back from the dead, I think we can maybe assume we're going to get a Tulip coming back from the dead, but there's a price to that.
Yeah.
So we don't know what the price is, and we don't know how that's going to be.
And I think Jesse alludes to it because when, Cassidy's last line to him is, I hate you.
Yeah.
And where Jesse responds, just, what did he say?
Just you wait.
Yeah.
You think you hate me now? Just you wait.
Yeah.
It really, we talked about how, like, seeing the friendship of the three of them kind of disintegrate. And I kept thinking, like, oh, that's it. They're done. And they really have done a great job of just, like, especially with that fight in this episode, you just really were like, wow. They just, like, keep breaking apart this friendship even more. And it's just, where do you go from here?
Yeah, I kind of want them to build it back up. I said this in a previous episode, too. I think they're breaking it down too much.
It's almost It's almost.
No,
like
I'm a little kind of sad. I'm sad from that.
It's almost like they didn't start building it up and spend long enough time doing it before kind of going the other direction.
I think that's true.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, especially at least Cass and Jesse. I think Tulip and Jesse they're at firm ground when, like, at the beginning of this season.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, so that's pretty much the episode. We see the God mask with the. in
So
his
we got confirmation that was God.
that was God.
No,
he does
kind of.
love jazz. He apparently pees.
Yeah.
He likes beer. I guess it was
Yeah.
Yeah,
beer.
and drinks a lot of beer, which is curious.
And he's
to-
very white.
Wait a minute. Am I God? Because I like all
this.
the things. I love jazz.
and coming out of the bathroom, which is the glowing.
Pure bright light.
Should we get into predictions and
Yes.
spoilers?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so let's do what we usually do: throw in one major prediction and sign off, and then we're gonna spend the last 2 minutes of the show talking spoilers. So I'll just start. I'm Ben Bateman. You guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media, Twitter or Instagram. And I actually think that with Tulip dead in the back of the car, and I'll expand on this in a second, but I think it mirrors something that we expected was going to happen, and I think you're going to see actually a lot more stuff that is directly from the comic book. I think we're a lot more on track than we realized, and I just think this was a different means of getting
Yeah.
it. That's what I think.
Yeah, I'm Dave Child. You can find me at mrdavechild at davechild.com. I know that right now in next season we're going to have Jesse, who's going to be under the thumb and owed a debt to the Angelville, to the Angelville people, and also he's going to be blackmailed by the Grail because they have his soul. So it's going to be interesting to see how he plays under all of that, like, commitment, I guess.
I'm Nate Miller. You can find me on social media at DogLikeNate. I agree with you. I'm very interested to see how it's going to play out with his relationship with Hairstar now, especially if he puts it together of who shot Tulip and how they've been playing him. Yeah, and I'm really curious to see. I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen with Eugene, but it should be very interesting.
I'm Matt Marr, 2 T's, 2 R's, the Matt Marr. And I think that a lot of the seasons for Jesse, I guess the prediction I kind of thought is, I think we're going to have almost a whole season of Jesse not using the word, of like trying to probably get back to that. And maybe, I think that with the grill and everything, I think that might be something we don't see until possibly last episode next season.
Yeah, it might happen like mid-season. Also keep in mind that Eugene's excited to go back to his dad, who's not around anymore, and neither is his entire town.
Yeah,
so he's gonna have to come face.
Which
to
I
face
think
with
is going into comics is going to take us back into that.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's going to be it. We're going to thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We're going to do a 1 minute, 2 minute little spoiler discussion. So this is your big spoiler warning. Your 10 seconds to turn off your YouTube, to turn off your phone, turn off your
Run
podcast
away.
app,
Leave,
whatever.
leave.
Don't listen. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler
There
alert.
you go.
Spoiler
There you
alert.
go.
Spoiler alert!
Okay, so
Spoiler alert!
this is it. Last warning. 3, 2. Okay, so the way that the comic book story it happens is she takes the shot in the face and she's dead, and Jesse has to do something to get her back. He makes a deal with God. It's just interesting that this is how the season ends: is they get the same means, and they're going to take her to Angelville. So we're going to kind of start from that same point,
right?
Just with a slightly different path to get there.
It's a bit different because in the comics, it's the Langels, I keep mispronouncing their names, who shoot her in the face,
right,
in front of them, which is a very dynamic and scary moment. And I actually think this was a little lightened. I thought that was
by comparison. If it's really supposed to be a substitute, then yes.
Yeah, it doesn't really stand. I don't know. I
doesn't
felt like
resonate the same way.
It doesn't resonate.
And they
the
can't
same.
do it again because then it's like, well, you already brought her back once, so
yeah.
it doesn't
So
carry the weight.
this is
like
her
killing
getting
Glenn.
shot in the face.
Yeah.
But it is. I do like how it's not going to be a deal with God. I like how God is still on the run and is probably not going to have any connection with the Langels. Langels. There we go. Langels next season, like they are in the comics,
right?
Where God is basically has a direct connection with them. I don't think that's going to happen.
Interesting.
So we'll see.
I want to go to the laptop that we saw.
Yeah.
I think Dennis got involved with them while he was still alive, and I think he either turned some of them or just they started their little vampire cult around him, and that they're gonna be looking for him, and it's gonna somehow find its way back to Cassidy of either there's a bunch of young vampires that he sired or they're killing people in his name or something like that, and he's gonna have to go deal with that because I think next season we're gonna see a split with Cassidy. I think he's gonna go his own way at least for a good part of the season to do Cassidy stuff.
Yeah, I still agree there will be a split next season. So it depends how it happens and how long we spend in Angelville and what that all looks like. It's interesting. It's nice to not really feel like I distinctly know what's going to happen and not really have great predictions. But yeah, it's going to be definitely fun to watch.
I also hope that one thing I do like from that website is they're building up this group of vampires to be kind of scary, and I hope when we meet them, like in the comics, they're a little bit of hot topic-y.
Yeah.
You know, they're a little posery. So it'll be nice. It'll be nice to see how that's played out.
That's funny.
So yeah, and also, like you were referring to, Eugene going back to the town. He's gonna find out that the town's gone. His dad's dead. And
everything is gone, which is what we get so early on in the comics.
Right, so he might blame it on Preacher, and then he goes off against Preacher.
I'm ready for evil Eugene.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Badass.
I'm ready
Eugene.
for Arsenal.
He needs that leather jacket and the motorcycle.
Yes.
Guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with us all season. This was a blast. I think we'll be back same time, same place next year.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, stay tuned for news from AfterBuzz TV for the way they are doing things now and the way that the new channels are going to be launching. There may be more Preacher-related content in the off-season before this comes back. Not sure how they're doing things, but stay tuned for announcements, guys. And as always, thanks for sticking with us all season. This was a blast.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Till the end of the world, bitch.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.